Hey everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, May the 27th, 2024. There's some strong, positive Mercury transits. This is good for negotiations, brainstorming, signing contracts, making agreements. This is all under the domain of Mercury, making plans, going back to school, studying, writing, marketing your ideas online. So on March the 27th, the moon is in Capricorn. To start the work week, Capricorn is very goal-oriented, very organized, practical, and business-minded. The moon leaves Capricorn and goes into Aquarius about 1:45 p.m. Pacific time. Aquarius is very kind of progressive, innovative, brilliant, quirky. Once a month, the moon's in Aquarius. When the moon was in Capricorn, the first part of the day, Capricorn's very traditional. Then you're going to see a shift where the emotional responses of the public, that's the moon, goes from being cautious and conventional to risk-taking, open up to very progressive new ideas. The moon, right after 1:45 p.m., Pacific time, when it goes to 0 degrees of Aquarius, it will be in the best flow of energy, the trine, to lucky expansive Jupiter at 0 degrees of Gemini. And Mercury is in some ways, the moon in harmony with Jupiter is going to trigger a lot of hopefulness and optimism. The Mercury throughout the day is going to be sextiling or in harmony with pragmatic, practical business Saturn. So that moon in Aquarius, especially when it's trining Jupiter, you're feeling risk-taking, you're feeling innovative, taking chances, opening up to new ideas. But the Mercury, which is the mind and decision-making, is going to be grounded into reality with Saturn. So this is overall, for most people, and it's a Monday, if that means anything, beginning of the work week, it's a very favorable time for business, for making logical, practical business decisions. On Tuesday, the 28th, the Aquarius moon will be in harmony with the sun in Gemini. When the sun is in harmony with the moon, it brings more comfort, more ease, relationships flow more easily. It could be very favorable for social interactions and discussions, to certainly business negotiations. On the 29th, the moon is still in Aquarius, more that unconventional, innovative energies, but it will go void, of course, 7:20 a.m. until 5:33 p.m. Pacific time. So most of the entire workday, especially Pacific daylight time people, with the void, which I mention every week, it's changing signs. You don't want to start any major new projects, making really important decisions, because the void, of course, there's no, the energy is flat. It's unproductive. You can stay with your routine. You could be wrapping up projects. It could be good for introspection and resting, but you don't want to initiate important new actions. At 5:33 p.m., when the moon leaves void Aquarius, It then starts a new cycle with the moon in Pisces at 0 Pisces, because there's 30 degrees in a sign, and Jupiter is going to still be at 0 degrees of Gemini. So when the moon is what we call squaring, forming this hard 90-degree angle to Jupiter, that could be a time from 5:33 to maybe 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific time of being a bit overly optimistic, really expanding and taking risks. But with that Jupiter in a hard angle, you could over-expect, over-inflate. Just go with these high expectations and then many times get disappointed because whatever you were so excited about doesn't pan out the way you were all excited it would. But this too shall pass. It only lasts an hour or two. Just don't get all caught up in and also making important decisions, especially during the void, of course. But then when the moon is squaring Jupiter, because you're expecting too much. On the 30th, Thursday, the moon in Pisces will be in a hard angle to the Venus from 8 to 9 a.m. approximately, then squaring the sun from 10 to 11 a.m. Pacific time. So that whole morning period, you're going to be feeling that moon in Pisces really wants to connect on a real personal level. But it's out of sync with relational compromising Venus and the sun, that sense of purpose and identity. So that morning in the Pacific time zone, you could just be feeling out of sync. You're on different pages and you don't feel like you're getting your emotional needs met. From around noon onward into the first part of Friday, but the last half of Thursday, Pacific time, communication Mercury, once a year, will cross over innovative Uranus. Mercury-Uranus can trigger a day of exciting new decisions, coming up with original new ideas, innovations, inventions, really thinking out of the box. This is really favorable for learning, being open to working with technology, because Mercury is the learning, the curiosity, and Uranus rules computers and technology. It rules the future. So it's a very exciting day mentally. On the 31st, the moon in Pisces will be in harmony with eclectic progressive Uranus mid-morning, and then by noon to 1 Pacific time, it will be in harmony with Mercury. So this mid-morning, early afternoon Pacific time, there is very easy flowing energy with ideas, being more open to shaking things up, trying new things. Then the day is rather smooth because there's no other activity until the moon leaves Pisces, which is more introspective energies, and goes into fiery Aries at 8:29 p.m. Pacific time. The Aries is more ego-oriented, more ambitious, wants to take the lead, more aggressive. So that's the wind behind everybody's back over the weekend with the moon in Aries. But as the moon leaves Pisces, it's going to be in Pisces for most of the day, that Pisces is more of this reflective internal energies, and Aries is the exact opposite. It's very outgoing, Pisces, more introverted. Aries, more ego-oriented, extroverted. Saturday, June the 1st. The fiery, ambitious, risk-taking moon in Aries will be in harmony with social Venus, confident Sun, about the same time, mid-afternoon Pacific time. This can be very favorable socially, whether it's on a romantic level, whether you're attending an event, or doing a lot of into entertainment. You're just really enjoying the flow of everything. On Sunday, the moon will continue in fiery Aries, but will cross over Mars, warrior Mars, around the ruler of Aries, around 3 to 4 p.m. Pacific time. Moon Mars, it is a time of either taking big, bold risks or being really anxious and impulsive. The moon will be void of course from 3:04 p.m. to 10:56 p.m., which at one point Pacific time, it goes into Taurus. Prior to that, well, for the whole day, but you wouldn't want to make any important decisions during the moon void, of course, is Mercury will be in harmony with Neptune. That can be very inspiring, very intuitive. Jupiter will also be very favorable with Pluto. This is really going after more power, more prosperity. So that's a really powerful, positive day. I think with the Mercury-Jupiter energies, that moon in Mars, that moon in Aries aligning with Mars, it is triggering a lot of risk-taking that can all work out. But you want to take any big actions or make any kind of big, bold decisions before the moon goes void, of course, 3:04 p.m. Pacific time. I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.